Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of a crowded room, smiling politely, nodding at all the right moments. Your words carefully measured to avoid conflict, your presence tailored to make others comfortable. You spent years refining the skill, being agreeable, accommodating, and inoffensive. People like you. They say you're a good person. And yet when you need something, when it's your turn to be heard, to be chosen, to be defended, there is silence. The same people you always put first suddenly seem indifferent, preoccupied with their own lives. You replay every moment in your mind. Didn't I help them? Didn't I sacrifice for them? But the realization creeps in like a slow-burning truth. Niceness does not breed loyalty. Now, consider this paradox. Society tells you that kindness is the highest virtue. Be selfless, be patient, put others first. And yet, those who take what they want, the assertive, the unyielding, the ones unafraid to demand their worth, seem to move further, achieve more, and command more respect. The world, it appears, does not always reward the nicest people. It often overlooks them. So, why do we still cling to this illusion? Why do we believe that being endlessly agreeable will one day pay off, despite the mounting evidence that it does not? Could it be that niceness is not a virtue at all, but a carefully conditioned trap? One that keeps you small, compliant, and easily ignored? Think about history's most revered figures. Were they nice, or were they something more? Did they hesitate, waiting for permission, or did they carve their own path, indifferent to the discomfort they caused? What if everything you were taught about being good was designed not to empower you, but to keep you in line? And here's the most unsettling question of all. If being nice is so good, why does it so often feel like a prison? There is something beneath the surface of this virtue, something unspoken yet profoundly dangerous. A hidden cost that few acknowledge. A quiet, insidious erosion of identity and power. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Now let's go deeper. What is this force that turns kindness into weakness? Where did it come from? And why do so many never escape it? From the moment you were old enough to understand language, the message was drilled into you. Be nice. Be polite. Don't make a scene. At home, at school, in friendships, in love. You were conditioned to believe that the best way to be accepted, valued, and loved was to be agreeable. But beneath this well-meaning advice lies something more insidious. A silent contract between you and the world. If you are good, if you are patient, if you always put others first, then one day the world will return the favor. It is a contract you never signed, but one you live by. And yet, it is a contract that the world never intended to honor. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche warned of this phenomenon. He spoke of the slave morality, a system that conditions people to value meekness, submission, and self-sacrifice, not because these traits serve them, but because they serve those in power. It's a morality designed to keep the many obedient while the few take control. The overly nice person becomes trapped in a cycle of self-denial, believing that their suffering and servitude will eventually be rewarded. Carl Jung took this idea further with his concept of the shadow self, the repressed part of us that contains our raw instincts, our aggression, our power. Jung argued that many people suppress these traits, believing them to be bad, when in reality, they are essential. The refusal to integrate one's shadow, the rejection of strength, assertiveness, and self-interest, leads to a fractured identity. The nice person, in their effort to be morally pure, amputates half of their own psyche. And then there's Schopenhauer, who saw life as a relentless struggle for survival, driven by an unceasing will to power. He observed that the world does not reward passivity. It consumes it. The one who does not assert themselves is simply absorbed into the will of others. Think about it. When was the last time being too nice truly changed your fate for the better? How often has your compliance been met with gratitude instead of expectation? This is a hidden problem. Niceness, as we practice it, is often not about kindness. It is about fear. Fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being seen as selfish. It is a self-imposed exile from power. But what happens when you live your entire life this way? What is the true cost of suppressing your own needs? Let's unravel the consequences. What happens when a person spends their life bending, yielding, and suppressing their own desires for the comfort of others? What is the true cost of always being too nice? At first, The signs are subtle, an underlying frustration that you can't quite explain, a quiet resentment toward those who take what they want while you keep waiting for your turn. But over time, something deeper begins to erode. Your boundaries weaken. You find yourself saying yes when you want to say no. You let small insults slide, tell yourself it's not a big deal, and push your needs further into the background. You become easy to disregard, not because people are cruel, but because you have unconsciously trained them to believe your needs matter less. And then one day, something breaks. Maybe it's when you realize that the friend you always help never shows up for you. Maybe it's when you watch a promotion go to someone less qualified, but more assertive. Maybe it's when a partner loses interest, saying they want someone more exciting or challenging. You start to see it everywhere. The co-worker who gets ahead because they demand it. The friend who is respected because they set boundaries. The person who is neither cruel nor aggressive, but firm. Someone who takes up space unapologetically. Psychologists call this agreeableness bias, the tendency of overly nice people to assume that harmony is more valuable than assertion. But the world does not work that way. Power, influence, and even love follow a different rule. People respect those who respect themselves. There's also the psychological toll. Repressed emotions don't disappear. They metastasize. Studies on suppressed anger show that chronic people-pleasing leads to anxiety, depression, and even physical illness. The body keeps score. The mind rebels in subtle ways. Exhaustion, cynicism, the quiet sense that something is missing. And yet, the hardest truth is this. Being excessively nice does not make you more loved. It makes you more useful. And usefulness is not the same as value. The world does not admire a person who is infinitely accommodating. It simply takes from them until there is nothing left. So what now? If niceness alone is a trap, what is the way out? Is there a way to be kind without being weak? To be good without being overlooked? It's time to break free. There comes a moment when you realize you've been living by rules that were never meant to serve you. You've spent years believing that kindness alone will earn you respect, that self-sacrifice will eventually be rewarded. But now, the illusion is shattered. So what do? Do you abandon kindness altogether? Do you harden yourself, becoming ruthless and unfeeling? No, that is merely swinging from one extreme to another. The real answer is something more powerful. You must reclaim your own authority. The first step? Dismantle the illusion of obligation. You owe the world nothing except what you willingly choose to give. The idea that you must be liked by everyone, that you must never offend, that you must always put others first. These are chains designed to keep you powerless. True kindness is a choice, not a duty. Next, embrace strategic selfishness. The world respects those who respect themselves. Being firm, asserting your needs, and taking up space are not acts of cruelty. They are acts of self-preservation. Nietzsche spoke of the Übermensch, the person who transcends societal conditioning and defines their own values. This does not mean trampling others. It means standing unshaken in your own worth. Then learn the power of no. Not every demand on your time deserves a yes. Not every expectation placed upon you is fair. The simple act of setting boundaries is revolutionary, because the moment you stop allowing yourself to be taken for granted, people start to notice. They may resist at first. Some will call you selfish. Let them. Those who only valued you for your compliance were never truly in your corner. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But who you are cannot emerge if you are forever shrinking yourself to fit the expectations of others. When you break free from excessive niceness, something profound happens. You stop waiting for permission. You stop hoping that one day the world will finally recognize your worth. Because now you recognize it. And yet, there's one final revelation, one deeper truth that changes everything. A realization so powerful that it not only reshapes how you see yourself, but how you see reality itself. Let's go there. Imagine waking up one morning with a startling realization. You were never too nice. You were just afraid. Not afraid in the obvious way. No, not of conflict itself. You were afraid of what happens after conflict. Afraid of losing approval, of facing rejection, of being alone. Afraid that if you stop bending to fit the world, the world would no longer have a place for you. But here's the truth that changes everything. Niceness, when rooted in fear, is not kindness. It is self-betrayal. And self-betrayal always comes at a cost. The final, most powerful realization is this: the world does not give you what you deserve. It gives you what you demand. This is a law that those who thrive instinctively understand. Confidence is not a personality trait. It is a refusal to beg for what should be yours. Respect is not something granted to those who wait. It is something taken by those who assert their worth. And love? Love is not earned through endless giving, through shrinking yourself into a version of you that is easy to accept. Real love, whether from others or for yourself, only exists where there is strength. To be fully loved, you must first be fully seen. And to be fully seen, you must first be whole. So, ask yourself, where have you been shrinking? Where have you been waiting for permission that will never come? The moment you stop apologizing for your own existence is the moment you step into something greater. This is not about becoming cruel. It is not about abandoning kindness. It is about understanding that true kindness comes from power, not from weakness. Because the world does not need more people who live in quiet frustration, mistaking submission for virtue. The world needs people who are unafraid to stand tall, to speak with conviction, to embrace their full strength, not just for themselves, but for those who still live in fear. And now you have a choice. You can go back to waiting, back to hoping, back to being what the world expects. Or you can step forward, take up space, speak without fear, reclaim the parts of yourself you once buried. Because once you see the truth, you can never go back. And you wouldn't want to.